Can AI-powered filmmaking teach us to rethink business processes? Today's guest takes us on his journey from traditional video production to crafting AI-powered films. Along the way, he shares how tools like custom GPTs didn't just streamline his creative workflows, they reshaped the way he tells stories. If you're looking for inspiration to automate your own processes and unlock new possibilities with AI while staying grounded in what works, this conversation is packed with practical insights you can put to use. My name is Alexander Nevsky, and this is Innovation Tales.
Navigating change, one story at a time, we share insights from leaders tackling the challenges of today's digital world. Welcome to Innovation Tales, the podcast exploring the human side of digital transformation.
From creating Emmy-winning videos to pioneering generative AI tools, Erich Archer has spent nearly 2 decades at the intersection of storytelling and technology. But a year ago, he took a bold leap, creating his first AI-powered short film. Why? To explore how tools like custom GPTs, MidJourney, and Runway could revolutionize creative workflows, making high-quality production more accessible than ever. Today, Erich joins us to share not only how these tools are reshaping the media industry, but also how they can be applied to transform business processes across industries. If you've ever wondered how to turn AI hype into real, actionable outcomes, whether it's automating repetitive tasks, improving creative consistency, or just scaling innovation without scaling your team, this episode may challenge the way you think about integrating technology into your work. Erich's hands-on experience proves that AI isn't about replacing jobs. It's about unlocking new ways to think, create, and connect. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Erich Archer. Erich, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm super excited about our conversation today. I expect it to be a little different because you come from the film and TV industry, but a year ago you made your first film using artificial intelligence. So what inspired you to explore AI tools for video production?
Well, by day, I run a nonprofit TV station. And so I was very excited about ChatGPT for the resource gain that I felt it presented. As a nonprofit executive director, we're always a little starved for resources. So I was like, oh, wow, this can help me work better, faster, output more. And so that was attractive. And then MidJourney came out, the image generation platform. And because I also work in a visual medium, that was very attractive too. I mean, you're telling me I can generate any image I can think of? Like, that's a really big deal when those are assets that I work with day to day. So it was very clear early on that those tools were going to change my industry in a big way.
Yeah, making projects more accessible, I guess.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. And production workflows were starting to change really quickly. Just leveraging these tools for little efficiencies and a little bit of, extra research or rigor here and there. And then, maybe these image generators can help with storyboarding and things like that, and processing different creative briefs or whatever the case may be. And slowly but surely sort of starting to understand some of the different ways these different tools could help me. And it started to become very clear very quickly that generative production was a growing space, that these images were just the tip of the iceberg, and that it was going to be moving toward generative video production and just more sophisticated versions of everything we were seeing. So I wanted to get in early and start to experiment and learn it and get a feel for it.
And so the first short film you made was about your great-great-great-grandfather, if I'm not mistaken. And so what's the story behind that?
I had the opportunity to enroll in a month-long fellowship program at an organization called the AI Exchange. And what was great about that was they said, you have to make a personal AI project. That gave me the push to put the time and effort in to really try to make something start to finish that was good, that I may not have taken otherwise had I not been in that program. And my goal was really come up with a project that could demonstrate the level of storytelling that the technology was enabling at that time. So it was sort of a proof of concept more than a short film. But I had encountered some of my dad's ancestry research about our family, and he had a stack of notes and dates and names and some photos and one of like the family trees that you see. So I started to kind of use that as the creative briefs. And I told the story about an ancestor that I had the most information about, this guy named Rufus, who was my great 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 grandfather. And I had two pictures of him, one in his volunteer firefighter uniform and another of his like a headshot. And then I had a picture of his gravestone. And I knew what he did for a living. He made barrels and he had four kids, and I knew where he lived and when. And so I was able to build a timeline of his life and understand his area and kind of infer with ChatGPT and Perplexity's help what his life was like. And I made a custom GPT to actually be able to interview him and use
Mhm.
the material from that exchange and the narration and stuff. And I would use the voices from 11 Labs, the AI audio tool, and that gave me all the sound effects. And so I was able to just use a bunch of different tools and generate images that looked a lot like him, a lot like Salem, in sort of a Ken Burns, very simple documentary style. That was an example of what I felt at the time was where the tools would allow you to work.
It looks amazing. And of course, we'll provide a link in the description. There's a number of other videos that are in a different style. I think some of them are commissions. Can you talk a bit about them?
Yeah, so I started to get a little bit more attention for that work and got in touch with an agency that had some clients interested in early AI pioneering work. Let's try to make some stuff. It was a lot of cryptocurrency companies. They seem to be interested in pushing the envelope. They don't have a lot of visuals to begin with. They're, I don't know, adventurous, I guess. So
Yes.
there were a few of those. And what's so interesting about the tools is they make you so versatile as a creator because you can pull in any inspiration directly into the process, whether it's black and white photographs from the 1800s or graffiti skateboarding images from today, or in another piece I made 35,000 years in the past. It doesn't matter. You can now generate these assets and work with them. So I've made, I don't know, 5 or 6 AI videos now, and they're all very different aesthetically, which is exciting. It really makes you feel like anything's possible.
How did you initially start integrating these various tools into the workflows that you're familiar with? Was that particularly easy, straightforward, not so much?
One of the earliest things that I discovered was that I could take a transcription from an interview that I would do like this, but with video cameras, going out and shooting interviews, coming back with a day's full of transcriptions, being able to run those through Claude and say something like, I need a soundbite that is emotionally engaging, and then I need the who, what, when, where, why information sound bites, and then I need an emotional closer. And it'll give you that paper edit with time code. And that process of going from the raw material of an interview or a transcription down to what you want to use can be a very long process. I mean, we'll come back with hours and hours of interviews. So something like that, all of a sudden you're going from something that might have taken 3, 4 rounds of editing down, you do almost instantly. And it might not be 100% what you want, but it's way closer. Or if you need B-roll, now you can generate it instead of buy it or shoot it. It's getting harder and harder to kind of figure out what we would need to shoot with cameras as opposed to generate. There's some obvious ones, like if you're going to go shoot something, a live event or a sports game or something like that. But I can make a Spice commercial using Spice B-roll from all around the world without flying any camera operators all around the world. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, there is an immediacy where you can turn an idea into something usable with much less process, let's say. You don't need as big of a team in some cases. That's my experience, which enables you to also run with ideas a bit further on your own. But I know that you've also had to use image to video rather than directly text to video. But with the announcement of Sora or others, everyone's talking about it.
An example is just like I get a creative brief from a brand, and the brand says, we have an aesthetic we need you to create that is ancient Greece, 300 years in the future, and our brand is purple, and we need these magical orbs. How am I going to get that once, let alone in every single shot in a sequence that's maybe 25 different shots? So that's the challenge you start with. Okay, I've got to make this look, and it's got to be brand exact. We're making a commercial. This can't be close. It has to be exact. It has to really be consistent. So that's the bar. You know what I mean? You can't have anyone watch it and go, "Oh, what was that?"
Mm.
There's a couple ways you can approach it, basically, which is you can go to a platform like Sora, and you can just give it a text prompt. You know, I'm looking for ancient Greece with a futuristic vibe and a magical purple orb, and try to prompt out a video of that idea, and you'll see what you get. So that's the difference. Is like in MidJourney, you can upload a picture or multiple pictures and try to craft the image out of pictures, which is more typically how I will work. I'm probably for every 1,000 images I generate using 50 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a lot of trial and error. How much difference is there between what's on the package, what's promised, and reality?
I think that that's really one of the biggest takeaways that I could share is that it's a very big difference between the highly cherry-picked outputs you see in the promotional pieces and the real outputs you get in the platform when you go to use it. They're all pretty wonky still. They just give you all kinds of weird stuff and errors, and sometimes it's great. I mean, I've used a lot of unexpected outputs in my work. So there's a real coolness in the unexpectedness of it sometimes that can be useful, but most of the time it's just like, "Oh my god." Just this absolute battle with the platform to try to give you something, and sometimes you'll get tantalizingly close, like it's exactly the image you want, but it's got 6 fingers or something, and you're like, "There's no easy way to go undo that one little piece," or sometimes there is with in painting and stuff, but, like, it all depends on what platform you're using and everything, so I think somebody really smart told me early on not to let all of that hype stuff that's constantly coming out stress me out because all of those companies are cherry picking in a major way. And
Mm.
that's been my experience also that, I go and I try all these tools. Oh, this great new things come out and look what it can do. And I run over and try it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's still just as rough to work with as the rest of it." And hopefully that's freeing for people to hear. It was for me. It's like, "Okay, I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, this is hard. It's hard, and I'm I've been doing this work a long time, so there's parts of it that I'm very fast at, like editing, and I know what elements I need for any given video pretty quickly and certain things like that. So I can still go fast and it's still hard. It's still this
Mm.
is my core competency and it's still hard. So, you
Yeah.
know, it can look like this very one click and oh my God, it's all done for you and beautiful, but it's not like that at all. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The human in the loop is definitely a must have. But I know that you've also managed to use some of the tools we've already mentioned in a more reliable way. Would you mind talking about this for a bit?
So pretty early on, I found a use case for custom GPTs that was was pretty powerful, where I was getting these creative brief documents and able to use ChatGPT to process the language in them. Basically, these were documents full of insider knowledge that I wanted to understand, but it was vague language and sort of difficult to figure out what they meant all the time. And I'm like, this is probably something ChatGPT can help me with. Put this PDF in there and be like,
Mm.
clean up this language and add some brand guidelines and do some research. And I had all these ideas of how I could like process this document really quickly using ChatGPT. And a lot of it worked. And then I tried to build this like super custom GPT that would just do it all the time. And that didn't work. And in the process of trying to figure out why it didn't work, I just wound up making like 10 GPTs out of the one. Because what I realized is I was asking it to do 10 different things. And if I just asked 10 different custom GPTs to do one thing each, I'd get a more reliable output each time. And then I didn't mind manually going from one to the next to like clean up the document and then add some research and then add some brand guidelines and make some thumbnails and generate ideas and, you know, all the stuff that I wanted it to do. I just had to do one at a time. And that was effective, but also enlightening. I was like, oh, that would work in other areas too. And so I started to apply that idea of just making these little precision custom GPTs that did one thing well. And I've now made a couple hundred of those and kind of mapped them all out on this mind map platform online that I found. So that's become a fun process and something that I just sort of treat like as a hobby. But people are using them now and like they're available on Gumroad for free if anyone would like to try them out. But they're for all different business frameworks and models and things like that. That when I took over this business, my day job as an executive director, I had never been in management before. So I didn't know a lot of these frameworks and things existed or how to do them. This is designed to make it very easy to do those things and not have to pay a consultant to teach you how to do them. I was a startup founder for a few years too, and I had friends and family money invested. I built an app. I was trying really hard, but like there was so much I didn't know, and I knew I didn't know it because I was a first time founder. And I was like, man, I hope I'm not making mistakes because I don't know the right way to look at this or whatever. So I just have had that experience where like I just want to know how to think about things. You know what I mean? So I made all these tools to just help with that. Like, oh, this is a SWOT analysis. I just have to click this button. It'll walk me through it. It'll do it for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you don't ask it to do the work for you. You really have to be very specific. But I really am curious because I'm a techie, so I know what's behind them. But when you talk about those custom GPTs and the processes that then you are able to automate partially with them, how do you explain what the custom GPT is? I wonder.
So Chat GPT is a general purpose tool, and you can ask it anything and get an answer, which is amazing. But custom GPTs offer you a way to make a much smaller version of it. You basically can control all of the parameters of how you want it to behave and what you want it to do just through conversation, which is pretty wild. I don't know how to code at all. You can just be like, hey, I want to make a custom GPT that helps me do a SWOT analysis. Okay, well, what would a tool need to do in order to do that? Like, it would have to ask you about your business. What information would it need, right? Like, if it had all of this information, if you could provide all this raw information, it would be able to tell you with some web searching also, be able to help you do a SWOT analysis. You know what I mean? It's basically just putting whatever parameters in place that you want, using the power of this general purpose tool to just look through whatever scope you want to sort of create for it.
And I love what you were saying about using tools like this when you're, like in your case, a first-time founder and needing to learn to do a whole set of things, that this can be a complement, let's say, where maybe before you'd have to go and read a book, maybe get a consultant, um, do a training or something. We're seeing now the rise of these AI powered tools as kind of a learning, upskilling tool. I wonder, from your experience, like if you were talking to other business owners, how would you advise them? What would you tell them? Like, how should they be exploring these custom GPTs?
Well, they're certainly welcome to jump into to my ecosystem and try these things. There's also a number of custom GPTs available within ChatGPT. You can go in there and search by category, and they'll have probably, if you're in real estate, they'll have a whole bunch of real estate custom GPTs, and you can check those out. I highly recommend just starting with a conversation in ChatGPT. What is something that you think about on a regular basis or process on a regular basis? So we're looking for like repetitive tasks and things like that, or thought patterns that things you're normally thinking about, whatever. And then what would go into like building a machine to just do that for you, you know?
Hmm.
It's often not very much. I'll give you an example of like a really simple one. For my day job here, all I did was take our organizational documents, our handbook, our policies and procedures, our brand guidelines, things like that. And I just put them as PDFs in a custom GPT, which is as simple as uploading. Here you go. And in the instructions, all I said was something like, you are a custom GPT designed to answer questions for the staff of 1623 Studios using the documents that I've uploaded or whatever. And so the staff, with that little bit of instruction and those documents, can just say anything from what's the dress code to what's our strategic plan this year, and it can give you the answer. I mean, it took 0 minutes to make that powerful tool for people that no longer have to come to me with those questions that are FAQs that have answers. Those answers are now in the
Yeah,
GPT, and they don't have to ask me. So that, I mean, there's 8 zillion examples like that that could not be easier. You could do it yourself, and once you see that and experience that, you'd be like, "Okay, now I kinda get it." And the more you get it, the more you get it.
absolutely. Now that's a terrific example. I think there's a lot of evidence that this is one of the first use cases to deploy. And if you are not a large enterprise with millions to spend, that is a very effective way of leveraging these tools. And so, what do you think about the role of human expertise in curating all these AI tools? Where do we stand?
I think it's critical. I personally feel really lucky to have a couple decades of experience under my belt when this technology came out, because I think subject matter expertise matters a great deal. Because so much of the known stuff is available to ChatGPT now, and therefore not really valuable to you. And so where subject matter experts have knowledge that is nuanced and proprietary and theirs alone, and they connect dots that no one else connects because they've been doing it for 20, 30 years. And they have expertise and they get it and they can see the bigger picture and apply that knowledge or apply today's tools to that knowledge. That is where the magic is. That's why I've been having success, because I'm applying AI to my subject matter expertise. And I'm able to just take everything I've learned over 20 years and whatever I can learn with AI and try to smash them together and make something valuable. I think that's a good position to be in, as opposed to like a, straight out of school and great with technology, because good for you, you're great with technology, but what expertise can you inject into it or get out of it?
Absolutely. No. Connecting the dots, I think, is the title of this episode. And so as we're about to wrap up, I tend to ask a couple of questions at the end. First, what's a book, tool, or habit that has made a significant impact on you in the last 12 months, and why?
One of the things that I have found helpful is the simple idea of just daily reps. I'm I find it to be very helpful, to address the overwhelm of the AI news and the sort of like the fire hose of stuff is just like finding where the daily reps need to come from. Like, I need to be learning every day. I just need to put in some learning reps and keeping a list of the things I need to learn about. And then making sure that every day I put in a couple of those reps, or like, doing the LinkedIn thing, or doing the pod match thing, or, putting in time with ChatGPT, or learning some new tools, and just not getting bogged down in the hype and who's done incredible projects or how busy I am and can't get to it this week or whatever. Like, trying to make a daily habit out of it with some daily reps is helping me address some of the overwhelm.
I'm sure it's going to be very useful to our
I hope
listeners.
so.
Absolutely, yes. And then last, what is the one thing that you would expect to remain constant 10 years from now?
I think there will be a role for people forever. I think everyone's pretty freaked out that the humans are gonna be less valuable. I think it's just gonna be different. But in my experience, all the magic from these tools, and this isn't trying to toot my own horn, but it's coming from the people. They're just general purpose dead tools otherwise. It takes people to bring the life out of them. And I see these as people enhancers.
And so with that, I'd like to thank you, Erich.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Erich's journey shows how AI tools become truly powerful when paired with human creativity and experience. From using ChatGPT to simplify workflows to platforms like MidJourney and Runway for video production, Erich has demonstrated how experimentation can lead to meaningful results. His work proves that AI isn't here to replace us, but to help us create, innovate, and solve problems faster and better. So here's something to think about. How can you use AI in your own work to save time, unlock creativity, and achieve bigger goals? To learn more about Erich's projects and insights, visit his portfolio at cgacreative.com. In the meantime, we have more exciting topics and guest appearances lined up, so stay tuned for more tales of innovation that inspire, challenge, and transform. Until next time, peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Innovation Tales. Get inspired, connect with other practitioners, and approach the digital revolution with confidence. Visit innovation-tales.com for more episodes. See you next time.